Hey guys, Chad here, and today we're talking about something that you're going to be doing for the rest of your career. It doesn't matter if you are starting out in your career, if you're far along in your career, if you're deciding you want to leave your career and start a consulting business or your own business, you're going to have to do this no matter where you are on your journey in your career path, and that is you're going to have to take notes. So today I'm going to be sharing my note-taking strategy with you. This is a note-taking strategy I've been using for a few years. It works for me. It's simple, easy, and it combines electronics like the iPad that we all love taking notes on, right? And it combines that with paper, which we sort of, at least I'm finding it very difficult to get away from. So it combines those two elements, and it also brings in the final and third element, which is to me is the most important, and that's the computer. So I'm combining all of these elements today to show you how I take notes and stay productive. I'm hoping you get value out of this. So make sure you stick around. So now before I even get started, I want to say if you see something out of sorts in my office, I'm going to apologize for that. I am reorganizing my office. I'm actually going to we're in the situation where I might be working from home for a while. I've already been working from home for almost a year now, and it doesn't look like it's going to be ending anytime soon based off some recent emails that I've gotten. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an environment, a workspace. It's going to be a little less clutter. And it's also going to incorporate some gym equipment in here that is going to keep things clutter-free as well. It's all going to be mounted to the wall. If you're interested in seeing that when I'm done, make sure you type gym home office at the bottom down there in the comment section, and I'll be sure to update you on that when I finish it all, which should be before December 30th. So anyway, that's not what this video is about. You want to know about notes, so let's talk about it. So like I said, there are three really elements that I use, okay? Paper, iPad, computer. First, let's look at the paper, because with the paper and the iPad, I keep it exactly the same. The reason I still do paper is because sometimes I'll get a phone call at my desk, and I don't want to whip open my iPad, or it might not be around, so I'll have to take notes here on paper, okay? And I try to keep this template already done, although if it's not done, it's really easy to keep in my mind because it's simple, and I'll show you in a moment. And but if it's already done, then I don't have to worry about doing that part of it, and if someone calls, I can just jot this down. Now, if you're in an office somewhere, do this as well because it's really easy. You might not want to pull out your iPad. Some people don't want to pull out an iPad in an office. I get that. It doesn't bother me, but some people are like, okay, who is this guy over there pulling out his iPad? Come on, man. Don't take yourself so serious. In the environment that I worked in, it wasn't like that at all. A lot of people took notes on their phone, iPads, paper, didn't matter. A lot of folks took notes on their computer. So if you are still in that mode, don't worry. I'll post a picture of this on the screen, but the way I break this down is just like this. I hope you can see that. If not, not to worry, I'll post a picture, but there's only 5 sections to this, okay? There's the attendees. So no matter what meeting I'm going to go into, there's gonna be attendees in that, and I wanna make sure I know who they are. The second part that I put in this template is discussion points. There's always gonna be discussion points, okay? Whether it's discussion points during the meeting, or there may be discussion points that I wanna talk about as I'm going into the meeting, so I'll write those down before the meeting. If you're like me, you check your schedule at the beginning of the day, you know what meetings you're going to be having, so you might want to jot down a few discussion points in the morning when you check your schedule and you see that meeting on your calendar. You're like, you know what, there's a few things I want to talk about. Let me talk about those, 1 or 2 items in this meeting. I'll go ahead and jot those down. The next thing I do is, this is the third thing, key takeaway points. So once I'm in the meeting, what are some key takeaways out of that meeting? What are some things that I want to remember? What are some things that I'm going to want to jot down in my computer for later on? The fourth thing is follow-up actions. Now, I don't understand why folks still have meetings and don't have follow-up actions. I mean, a lot of people have meetings, they go into the meeting, they are in there for an hour, they leave, and there's no follow-up action. There's no, what's going to be done when we leave here, what's the follow-up, who's going to do it, and when's it going to be done? And that's really critical and important in this 4th section. Follow-up action. What's going to be done after the meeting? Who's going to do it, and when's it going to be done? It's okay to talk about that. I mean, otherwise, why was the meeting even being held unless it was just an information sharing session, which I guess that could be done in an email. We got to be really cognizant of people's time. So follow-up actions are very important. And the 5th and final section are additional notes. These are notes that you might just want to take or jot down. And I wanted to create a section for that. So 5 sections: attendees, discussion points, key takeaways, follow-up actions, additional notes. That is it. So now, whether you're using GoodNotes or whatever note-taking app you're using, I do the same thing. I go in, I take those same, I put that same template down into my iPad. I have attendees, it looks exactly the same. I'll put a picture of the iPad up on the screen as well, if you can't see that, but it's the exact same at the exact same sections, and that's because sometimes I like to take notes on the iPad. Why is that? Well, sometimes it's a lot easier drawing on the iPad, or it's a lot easier moving things around on the iPad. If you were to mess up, maybe you had a discussion point you didn't like, you can quickly erase it. Maybe you wanted to move a discussion point down or move a discussion point up. You can do that really easily with the iPad and a couple clicks of the side of the pencil here, and you can move those things around on the iPad. That's why I like electronic devices. It's very easy. But nevertheless, it is the same template as I have on the paper. So now before I move over to the computer, I want to say that if you're not sure what kind of notebook to use or pen to use, not to worry. I've gone through this in my career and I've tried out tons of different notebooks, tons of different pens, and I've finally locked in on these two items, and I'm going to show you where to get these at the very end of this video. This is a very cheap book. The reason I like this one is because there's no dates. There's also really small lines. It's not bold, which I like. You can also have a subject line up here. There's grid paper on the back of each one of these. And then at the very beginning, they have dates and calendars and things like that as well. I really like these. They last me forever. And again, under 10 bucks, you can't beat it. The reason I like this pen is because it's the Uniball Air. It's really smooth writing. It doesn't bleed over. It doesn't smudge. As soon as I write, it's dry. I can rub the paper. And it doesn't bleed through the paper. So that's why I like these. I use these when I'm taking notes or when I'm planning. This is a planner that I have. Now this was a little more expensive, but this is something that I use for yearly, weekly, and daily planning. And it helps me keep up on things. And this is more big ticket items, right? This isn't like, my meetings and meeting notes and things like that. This is something that where I'm planning, like, what do I want to accomplish for the year and how do I break that down weekly and daily. If you want to know more about that, you can put planner video down in the comment section below, and I'll do a video on that as well. Now I'm going to take you over to my computer. I'm going to show you sort of behind the scenes on how I take the notes from my iPad, the notes from my paper notes, and put those into the computer so I can stay productive, because this is where it really gets important, okay? Because if we're taking notes on paper, you can have tons of these papers, right? You just flipping through. You don't want to go back and have to find that. You want to take this information at the end of the day and put these into the computer system so you can stay on track and keep up with what you're accomplishing, what you're getting done, what needs to get pushed to the next day, maybe the next week, that type of thing. Well, let's go over to my computer and I'll show you that. All right, so now I'm in my computer, and what I want to show you here is you can see a lot of these categories the same, right? Key takeaways, actions, who, when, follow-up. Those are the same categories or areas, sections, whatever you want to call those, that you saw in my notes that I just shared, okay? But there are some different things here. For example, we have category and Kanban. That's different. Date you would have on the notes. But category and Kanban are a little different. And I want to go over that really quickly, and I'll show you how I set this up. So I'm going to go to page 2 or sheet 2 down here, and I'm going to show you what that is. You can see for category, I have project, Kaizen, meeting, or 2-minute task. No matter what we're doing, we can break down our activities into some categories. Now, these are the ones that I've chosen. You don't have to choose these. You can choose others. For me, though, I'm typically going to be working on projects, Kaizens. There's some meeting notes. Obviously, that's what this is about. And then there's 2-minute tasks. Now, if it's a 2-minute task, I might not be able to get it done that day, but I want to make sure I capture it and make sure I get it done the next day. These are typically reserved and scheduled for the first thing in the day. So when I wake up in the mornings, I'll bring up my to-do list, which is what we're sharing here, and then I'll go through and look at all the 2-minute tasks, and I'll try to get all those done because they're really quickly. And there's only 2, 3, or 4 of those. And so within 10 minutes, I can have those taken care of, completed, and off my task list. Now, here's the other thing. You might be asking why I'm not showing the actual sheet that I use. Why isn't it just filled with notes? And that's because I use this on my work computer. This is my personal home computer. And there's some things on this sheet within my work, my professional work environment that I don't want to have to, that I can't share, right? It's proprietary. I can't share that information. But trust me, this is the skeleton template that I use, and I'm just showing you how I fill it out. All right, so the way I've broken my categories down: project, Kaizen, meeting, and 2-minute tasks. Now, the other thing here is Kanban. Kanban is something that I've been using for quite some time. It's a Japanese term. It's like a card system, and it's basically how you move things through a process. And there's different ways you can use it, but the way I'm using it is I'm labeling my projects, Kaizens, meetings, or 2-minute tasks as started, work in process, that's what WIP means, completed, on hold, or waiting for someone. So these are the Kanban steps. So I know when I select these categories that either I'm going to be, I know I've started the project, I've started the meeting, I've started the Kaizen, maybe I'm waiting on someone, maybe it's completed, on hold. These are the Kanban steps I have these in. So if you can imagine, like if I start a project like here at G and the Kanban steps are started, well, that's start. And then I'd want to move that card from started to WIP in or work in progress as I'm working on that, right? And then once I'm done, I move that little card to completed. So that's how it kind of works. And for a visual management system, it works wonders. Right now we're working at home, so this is how I'm using it. Now I'm going to carry it back over to sheet 1 and talk about this. So let's say, for example, I have today's date, and then I go into category. Well, maybe the category is I have a project coming up. And so what's the Kanban step? Well, I would go here and put I've started that Kanban, or I've started that project. And the actions could be met with team. Key takeaway and notes. Now here you can get, and you could put on multiple things. You could put good ideas, no defined root cause. So these are just key takeaway items you would put in. If there are follow-up items, right, you might want to put, these shouldn't be there, they should be down here. So that's where I'm going to put them. So there might be some follow-up, like maybe their follow-up is meet with team to define root cause, right? Maybe that's something I want to do, and maybe I'll take that on for myself. And then when maybe it's on 12/3 or something like that. So you can quickly see that what this is a project. There was a December 1st, there's project was started, met with the team, had some good ideas, no defined root cause. The follow-up is to meet with the team to define the root cause. I'm going to do that December 3rd. And so you could come down and put down like the next item, and maybe I move that to complete or on hold. Maybe I'm waiting on someone. And the other thing you could add in down here, and I usually do have this on most of my notes, and that is notes and comments, because sometimes there's always, and remember, this is a section in my paper notes and on my actual iPad notes, right? So definitely want to have that in there in case there's some additional information you want to add in there. Now let me show you really quickly how I put these in, because sometimes people don't know how to do these drop down menus. So I'm going to show you that really quickly. When you have a section that you want to change, like for example I have project and on hold, basically all you do is you come up to data, the very top here, and come over to data validation, click data validation again, and then right here it's list. So you have a lot of things you can pick from, and for me, if you want to do a drop down menu, do list, and then you just click in the source area and it takes you over to where I've highlighted. But if it wasn't, I would just highlight this area. What I always like to do is go one down below, because maybe I want to add something later on and I don't want to have to go in and redo this all over again. So I'll just create one. Sometimes I'll create 2 empty blocks, and then I just hit OK. Now when I come back over here and I do the drop down, you can see I have 2 empty spaces, right? So this is the drop down. If I come back over here and I put in update, just to show you, I come back over to my sheet 1, I do the drop down, you can see update right there. So why would you do this? Why would you add this in there? Well, a lot of times when you're moving really fast, it's easier to do a drop down menu because you might misspell a word, and then you might have like project spelled correctly when you're doing your sorting. You might have PRJECT, PJECT, depending on how fast you're moving. And then when you do your sorting, you've got all these different variations of ways that you spelled project. But if you have a drop-down menu, it's really easy. It keeps everything spelled correctly. And then, if you share this with a team, they can do the same thing, and it doesn't get really messed up. You can just really sort things really easily. So that's how I do this. And so as things get completed, I'll go in here and put complete. Now, if you really want to get fancy with this stuff, and I do this on the one for work, once I hit completed, it highlights this thing really dark green, so I know it's done. And when you're done, you can see a really nice picture of what's done, because it's green, and then what's still open. So anyway, that's what I do to keep my notes up to date. That's what I do to combine both the paper, the electronic, and then the computer version. I guess it's electronic as well, but combine all that together to keep my notes organized, on track, and make sure that I don't miss something. Because I'm telling you, if you don't keep up with your notes this way, you're always thumbing back through your notes to try to find maybe a conversation that took place, something that happened, and you're always just a little bit disorganized. But if you keep it up like this, you don't have to flip through the book, because yes, it's organized there. You might want to go back every once in a while, but if you do it like this, you won't need to, because that information will be transposed over to your computer, and you'll have it in this Kanban system, what's being completed, work in process, all that stuff, and you'll be able to search by any of those topics. This is what works for me. I thought maybe I'd share it with you in hopes that it would work for you. If you like this video, make sure you click that subscribe button down below to get more videos about this, or about topics like this, to help you with your professional career. Likewise, give me that thumbs up button, because I promise you it helps me with that YouTube algorithm. If you want to get your hands on any of the products that I showed today, go down in the description below. There's an Amazon link there. I promise you it won't cost you anything else. if you do click on that link and you decide to buy something, I get a very, very small commission from that, and it's a way that you can support the channel without actually having to give me any money, and it doesn't affect the price of anything you pay. So anyway, full disclosure there, but yeah, I'll have all that down in the description below. Click on that. You can go over there and check out the pen, the iPad, everything that I use, as well as the notebook that you saw today. As always, I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate you being part of this community. I'll see you all in the next video.